What's up guys, happy new year to you all, and this will be the first tutorial I'm making this year, and all about this tutorial is about camera tracking and how to export your track scene. And guys, I will make it simple for you and you will learn the basics of camera tracking in this tutorial. So make sure you watch this video to end and you will learn a lot. Okay, now let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do now is to click on this plus sign. When you open Blender, just click on this plus sign, come down, then you see VFX, then scroll beside this you will see motion tracking. Click on it. Since we are doing camera tracking or motion tracking or whatever you may call it, now to input your footage you want to track, just click on open here. You can locate your footage here, but I like to go direct to my files, then drag it into the scene like so, then press open clip. Now you can see your footage right here, and this is how to get started. So for you to cache this into memory, because Blender don't really cache it automatically, you have to do this manually yourself. So before you do that, just click on set scene frame to cache all the frame into the memory, and also press prefetch to cache the frame into the memory. Okay guys, so for the sake of this tutorial, I don't want to track all the whole frame, so I will just track from frame 100 to the end. Let me just change this from the start to frame 100. All right, like so. So when I play through, you see the video. It's a video sequence, not an image sequence. All right, and you can see that I have some markers on the floor which I will track, and it will help a lot in this scene. And for this type of scene, we don't really have a lot going on this scene. We don't really have some depth here, but we can just track the legs. If you look right here, we have, this is a tripod, and I can track these legs of this tripod and use this as a information, some like information for this to able to solve this tracking properly. All right, so let's start it with tracking now. Okay, now before we track, just come down to tracking settings here, click on normalize for you to able to track properly, and click on this frame, change it to previous frame. And I also like to change it from location to offline. All right, this preset you can use it and it will track your scene properly for you. Okay, now let's start with tracking. To track, just press Ctrl then click. Now we have a track, and to add a search, just click on this clip up here. Now scroll down and click on search. Now you enable the search. Now you can expand this. To expand it, you can just drag it like so, and also drag this, but I don't like to do it that way. I'll just press S to scale up, and it will expand both at once for me. Okay, to track, click here to track a single frame, and click here to track the whole sequence. And it comes to backward, click here to track a single frame back, and click here to track the whole sequence backward. So for this, I'll just track the whole sequence forward. Click on this. And if you don't want this tracking to be going off and scrolling, you can just lock the track by pressing L. I will show you the next track. Just click on it, press S to scale up, then press L to lock the track to center, then track backward this time. And because this is the end of this frame, I can't track forward again because there's no frame upper here, so I need to track backward. So I just click on track the sales sequence backward, and you can see that this stays at the middle, at the center, and instead of the track to be going off, instead the movie is going off. So this is how to track, and you can see that it's really working fine, and you can also monitor your track if it's working well, and this is how to do it. Okay, press L to unlock that. As you can see that it's unlocked. So let's check another tracking markers to track. Just press Ctrl then click like so, press S to scale up the whole track, and we are in middle of this right here. We can just track forward to the whole sequence, and from the point we track here is frame 219, so you can track backward again. Just click here to track the whole sequence backward. And you can pick to track any scene you want in any frame. It doesn't matter once you know the basics, and you can track forward and track backward, so you can do anything you like with your tracking markers. Right now I've tracked these two, and let me go for the last one, which is the fourth. Note that for you to do camera tracking and solve it, you must have a solid good 8 track ready for you, and I already have 4 markers here, and I just want to do the fourth tracking. And mind you, I will just continue to track some corners and the mark I see on the floor here as a track to make this complete as 8 track. And you can track more than that. It will help your solving complete, and it will make it looks better. All right, let me just do this and press Ctrl, then click. I'll just click somewhere here, click. Then I will press S to scale up the scene. All right, then and because I choose this as a normalize, you can see that there's sort of light pass through here, and this tracking also did well and track this complete, and it's because I choose this normalizer is why it doesn't affect the track. And for you to see what you are tracking, just click here to track. Then you can see this. Anywhere you put the pattern, you can see it will appear on the screen. Let me show you, like this corner right here. Now I will just go to the first of the beginning of the frame, then I will just choose somewhere this depth on the floor. I will just click, Control click. Now you can see that we have a new scene here. Scale it to be large, then L to lock it. Now when you track forward, this is single frame, then track the whole sequence like so. You can see that this is really quick and it tracks properly. Okay, let me choose another scene, as you can see. So I will just track this corner, just Control then click, press S to scale it up a little bit because I don't want it to be started getting slow. So I will just track, press L to lock it at the center. All right, and it's done tracking. Okay, so I need 8 solid track, and because for the sake of this tutorial I will just go ahead and do the remaining and track as much as possible I can do on this scene, and I will get back to you when I am done. All right, now I am done tracking all this, and you can see that I track almost everything. I can see that it's good to track, and I want to show you some things right here. And because all this track I did right here is all in one depth, so it doesn't give the solving enough information to be able to solve this properly. So I need to give this some depth in the scene, and to do that I need to track some things like this tripod leg I showed you earlier. So I'll just put some tracking markers, just press Ctrl then click, press S to scale that a little, press L to lock that in the center and track. For this I'm not tracking using the whole sequence track. Instead of that I will do frame by frame tracking, so I can monitor how this is going and able to monitor it and see clearly what is going on. Okay, now this is done, and I will just begin to track single frame forward also. All right, just back it up a little bit. I can see now I will just clean off all the track, and to do that just click here to delete, and if you want to delete forward just click here. All right, so I will just check the second leg of the tripod. All right, now I will just put markers here, just press Ctrl then click, press S to scale. I don't know whether this will do well, but let's try. Let's track forward and single keyframe track. All right, and this is what it can do forward, and let's try backward, single frame track backward, and I think this is enough for this, and at least I can give this camera some depth to handle, and I think it will be able to solve this properly. Okay, now let's come to solving. And first of all, when you are doing camera tracking, you need to put source of information for this software to be able to handle the solvings properly. I mean, what I mean here is that when you come down to camera here, you can see that we have some settings here, and when you are shooting with camera, you need to input your sensor width here, and if you don't know that, you can Google it and you will see some things like the information, your camera, your focal length, and you must know the focal length you shot with. And I will put this here right here now, which is 23.5, and also the lens, what is 24mm lens. Alright, by doing this we'll be able to solve properly and come to solve. And if you don't have those information, you can let the computer do everything for you and it will be able to work fine, I guess. Okay, now let's click on this keyframe and click on solve camera motion. Click on that. I can see that this is really working. And for the error, we got the error of 3.90, and which is very bad. As you can see, this error is bad. You can try again and resolve this, and it's giving the same information and still give the same result. Okay, what I will do now is to click out of this and choose K1, K2, which is the lens distortion for this, and let's try that. And the most important thing in camera solving is lens distortion. When you are doing camera tracking, they say something like a distort happening in the scene depend on the focal length you are using, and when you don't play the lens distortion, we will get the proper solve of the camera. Now click on this clip and click on render on distort. Click on it, then click on render again. Now you can see that this is coming down, and I need to check on this track to see the one that is making this. Okay, before I start thinking about deleting some track here, I think I should just check on this keyframe, and I will just go ahead and use some decrease this. So what I can think it will be better, I can change the keyframe and resolve again. Now you can see that when I change the keyframe, this solve goes correctly, and we have the error solve of 0.5, which is better, and this will go a long way and we have a good track. Okay, and this is solved properly, and we need to put all this information and put it into 3D. All this we did right here is all a 2D information, and we need to convert it and generate it to 2D. And we already did that by solving this, but we need to pack all the information and put it in 3D. Now come down, scroll down here, you see scene setup. Now when you click on setup tracking scene, click on that, and we have everything in 3D. And you can see that the rotation of this object, the plane and the box cube we have in this scene is not correct, and we need to make sure everything goes perfect. And to do this, to set the scale and to set the orientation correctly, we need to choose a 3 good track that are parallel to each other, which is the floor. Now click on 3. I will choose this and also this. Press shift, then click. Now come up here, when you scroll up, you see floor. See, this is the orientation section, and when you click on it, just set this. That means you are giving all this 3 information to the 3D scene and set it as floor, and you see that this will change a lot here. When you click on it, you can see that this whole scene rotates and is moved differently. And we need to also to pick the origin, and with the origin means we are choosing a track that will be in the center. And let me choose this for the origin. I will just set this as origin, and anyone you choose as origin, that means the scene will move there. For example, when I choose this as origin, this scene moves there, and you can see that what I'm saying is true. Okay, now let's click on this and everything back to the center, because this I think is at the center for now. All right, now that is done, and you can see that this is way too big, and you can choose to scale it manually to scale it down, but instead of that, let me do it here. Click on 2 tracks that are far from each other and change the distance. Let me try the 1 point distance for now and set this scale, and see that this is way too big, so I will change the distance to 5. and I will rescale it, and you can see that this is really looking perfect. Okay, now let's come to layout here. That means we are done here with tracking, and let's set up our 3Ds. All right, now we are in layout, and you can see that everything is just plain. We don't know what is really going on here. And when you play this camera is already tracked, so when you play it moves according to the camera you shot with. And when you have a good solve, this is how it should be. All right, now to be able to see all our point cloud, which is the point of our tracking, just click here. Now come down, then select this motion tracking. Now this is back, and all our point tracking is back here. Now when you click on 0, now we can see our background, and we have a plane here which serves as the floor, and a cube here. So this cube, we need to bring it up. Click here to choose the axis and drag it up like so. Now you can scale it a little bit smaller and drag it, make sure it sits on the floor. All right, now press 0 to go to camera view again, and when you play this, you have your tracked scene, and it will look perfect, and this is a good track. All right, and this is already distort tracking scene. So when you come to compositing here, you see that we have a lot of things going on here, and we'll come back to this later. All right, go back to layout. Now we need to set up our tracking scene. So when we solve our camera and set up tracking scene, that means Blender has done a lot for us here in the scene section. Now we've seen that we have a scene collection here, and we have something inside the scene collection, which is the foreground and also the background. So when you click on these layers, we have foreground, and we also have background. Okay, now this is foreground. As you can see that this is, so we need to understand how this, and we have foreground and background. And this foreground will be at the top, and the background will be, this foreground will be at the top, and the background will be, which is the background, and it has the plane underneath. And you can see when I click on it, we have the plane underneath, and when you click on the cube, we have it at the foreground. So some of you guys just want to render your scene and see how it plays out. I will just use the Suzanne the monkey head as for example. So I will just delete this, press X and delete that. Just place this at the center. I will just press Shift A, go to mesh. Now select the Suzanne the monkey head. Now we just rotate this to match this and drag it up to sit and to fit on the floor, like so. Drag it down. All right, so I will just use this for example. Just rotate it, R, Z, then rotate. All right, now we can change the, click on this lamp, then I will drag it up. All right, now you can see everything clearly. And when you click on the render, you can see this is our render, and this is our default, which is the solid view, which is also called 3D view. Okay, as you can see that we are in render here, which is the background. And when you click on 0 and go back to foreground, we don't see this background here, and this is because the way Blender set this up as, and we are in Eevee render engine right now. So when we change it to cycles, we can do all that, and it's already set up for us in cycles. So I will just choose Eevee as an example for you guys, because Eevee is very fast to render and very quick. All right, let me just, so for some of you guys who don't want to have this background, you can just delete that, press X and delete it. And for this foreground, you can just click on this background and delete that. But before you delete it, just click on this Suzanne the monkey head and go to press M, then move this to foreground. Now you can delete this background, just click on it, then click on delete. Now we don't have foreground and background. All right, now go to the background here and cancel it. We only have the foreground. Okay, now when you render this, just click on this, then click on render. We have this, and it's not really working well right now, so we need to change this from, we need to see the background here. So when you go to composite, this is what you see, and when you press V, you can zoom out to see everything properly. And now before you see all this, the background and our movie clip underneath, so you need to change this. Now go to your render settings here. Now come down to film, click on it, then choose transparency. Now after choosing this, then you go back to layout to render, and you can render this anywhere. It doesn't have to be the layout. Now you can see that we have a transparent background, and this is properly fit to that. Alright, now we don't, if you want to render this just like that, we don't have to choose foreground, background this time. We just have to delete the background and leave the foreground. Alright, so we'll delete this also, then connect this direct to the scene. Now you can render this, and we already have the undistort, which is the less distortion. When you press M to mute that, you can see, and when you press distort, you can see that we have some movement here in the scene, and this is how distortion works. Okay, for you to render this, we need to choose an output for this. Alright, so to choose an output for this, we need to go to scene settings right here. Now come down, this is output, click on the output. Now you need to choose where you want to save your footage. You can just choose video, just drag it like so, then give it a name like a sample render. Just please render scene, so you can call it anything. Just give it a name, then accept. Alright, now if you want to render this an image sequence, you can just leave it and press render. But if you are rendering it as video, just click on this PNG and choose the video rendering. Now come down to encoding, next click on here and choose MEPG4. Alright, now we have the H.264, and change this from media quality to high quality. You can just leave it like that, it's also fine. Now you can just click here on the render and click on render animation. Now this is how to render is as a movie, and when you render finish rendering, we have this playing as a movie. Okay, now so I'll just go ahead and render this, and this is start rendering as a movie. So when it's done, and this is how to set up things and render this as movie. And thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.